I said to my now ex, can I have some money to get the boys some presents? And she turned around and said that a real man wouldn't be begging his wife for money, he'd be out earning his own instead of being a lazy cunt. She turned around and punched me in the head in front of a young bloke. She came in and was just verbally assaulting me. I ended up in a fetal position, sucking my thumb on the shower floor, just screaming inside, I can't handle this. And she was saying, you might have a doctor's filled, but you haven't got me filled. There's nothing wrong with you. There's never been anything wrong with you. I was ostracised from family and friends. I was constantly told that even my own family didn't want anything to do with me because I was mentally ill. I just turned around and I looked to see if there was a truck coming down the road, because I would have just jumped in front of that truck. A lot of shame. There was a lot of numbness. I went through a lot of depression. Rang up the Department of Community Services, and I was told by a woman on the end of the phone, sorry, I don't believe you because only men abuse women. You don't fit into any of our programs, we need you to do an anger management course. And I said, my ex spat at me, she threatened me with knives, she bit me, she punched me, she withheld money, she verbally abused me, and you're telling me I need to do an anger management course. It's hard to admit that you're in an abusive situation to begin with, because society says that females don't abuse men. And it took me a long, long time to even admit to myself that I was a victim of abuse. I became homeless because of abuse. I had nowhere to go. So when I ring up the government services, no, we don't believe you. When I told other people, they'd say, no, I don't believe you. And you know, the best thing that you could ever say to someone when they tell the story is just say, I believe you.
I'd try to barricade myself into a room or into a space, and whilst in there, the violence would continue out into the lounge room, where all my stuff would get smashed or broken. There'd be repeated sort of kicking and smashing on the door, and it just kept on developing and growing. The isolation was probably the hardest thing to deal with. Not actually having anybody else to talk to about it, not knowing what to do with the situation. It left me feeling very vulnerable and very confused. It seemed to contradict everything else that I knew about myself as a male, but I didn't know what to do with those emotions and where to take them and who to talk to. When we're left to our own devices and we're left to our own thought patterns, I think we come up with all sorts of justifications for the behaviour at hand, and potentially they're not always correct.
Did you at any point try to talk to someone about what was going on, or seek help in some way?
Sure, no, never. I was too embarrassed, without a doubt. All of those stereotypes of, you know, you're a male, you're physically stronger, we don't understand the scenario, you know, you should be able to overpower that person, you know, you should be able to stop that person. I just couldn't find anybody that I feel like I could have trusted with that information. And definitely not any of my friends or family. Yeah, and there definitely wasn't any services around to provide any sort of assistance like that. But it's definitely had a profound impact on myself and the way that I view myself and my relationships now. Even my current relationship, there's no violence, nor has there ever been any violence, but I'll still put tins of paint or bottles or something like that in front of a door, so when I'm laying down having a sleep, I can hear if somebody else is coming into the room. I think the social stigma's got to be removed. I think if probably more people stood up and actually spoke about it, And I think if we realise that it is actually more of a problem in our society than we choose to acknowledge, I think more and more individuals would feel safer to step up and actually to talk about their scenario.